Welcome back. The Gauteng Education Department has assured parents all pupils in the province will be placed for the 2020 academic year before the end of this month. Now, MEC Panyaza Lesufi joins us now in studio, in fact, with the latest on this story. MEC, thanks very much, as always,
Thank you so much
for your time. So the latest update you've given us all is 96% of placements have been confirmed now for grade 1s and grade 8s.
Definitely. We're only left, you'll recall that at the beginning of November, we had 34,000 learners that we had to place. We've reduced that number to 9,000. Of that 9,000, 3,000 are grade 1s and 6,000 are grade 8s. We are prioritizing the grade 1s because we don't want them to have a bad experience of schooling at that tender age. We remain committed that by the end of this month, that is by the 30th of November, we'll place all learners. The big demand, unfortunately, or the huge challenge, unfortunately, is that the schools that are preferred by majority of our parents are full to the brim. We did some extensions of the classes, we added some additional desks, but the reality is that those classes are full. So from next week, I'm embarking on what we call town halls with parents in areas where I have to bring the statistics, the information to them to say, you can't be permanently on the waiting list. Let's make a choice, and let's make a choice together. So on Tuesday, I'll be in Centurion at a school called Eitzach, and then on Wednesday, I'll be at a school called Marais in Albertine, so that I can engage with parents and explain to parents the difficulty of concluding to place the 9,000 remaining numbers.
And another way that you've tried to deal with this issue is to increase the intake for grade 1 and grade 8, and that's not been met with a whole lot of applause.
And I support that. I really support the parents that are saying that's not the way to go. But remember, it's only grade 1 and grade 8. So all other grades are still fine. Remember, our financial year does not move at the same time with the academic year. The financial year of government is from the 1st of April to March, whereas the academic year is from January to December. So we are only bridging January to February to March, so that we can go to the next financial year. And when we're in the next financial year, we'll then be in a position to have additional classes. So it's just a temporary measure, because whose child must be told to go at home and stay at home? You know, whose parents must be told that your child was not successful and keep your child at home?
No, absolutely, that's the situation.
It's going to be disastrous.
We don't want that situation.
We'd rather have them inside the classroom temporarily, and when we move to the next financial year, allocate them to classrooms that we believe can accommodate them. And so it's just a temporary measure.
Is this why you haven't made a comment yet on exactly, while this temporary measure is in place, what the teacher-pupil ratio will be?
No, it's there. The teacher ratio is 40 to 1 educator, so we'll keep and maintain that. If we have to exceed it, it don't be more than 5. We really believe that that must be respected. It's a compliance matter. We can't tamper with it as we wish. We just have to respect that. But there are schools, for example, that will say, MEC, we have a classroom that we normally use as an exercise room for learners to exercise every Wednesday. We can convert that classroom into additional class. For example, we have an unused classroom that we normally utilize it to store things there. We really believe you can convert it into a classroom. So these are the kind of changes that we are talking about when we speak about additional classroom. But remember, where we are, the problem is that we've got everyone wanting to come to Gauteng. And I think it will be irresponsible of the Gauteng provincial government or ourselves to say to those parents, stay at home. We really believe that parents have the right to choose. If they will feel that we are providing quality education in Gauteng and they're moving away from rural areas, we just have to provide that support. But we also have an additional burden of people that are foreign citizens in our country. It's a huge burden. I don't think that South Africans understand this burden. It's massive. We also have to accommodate them. And we've got a cry from South Africans to say, you are accommodating foreigners rather than taking our own children. And we always indicate that we balance. We try to balance the scale. We obviously prefer South Africans, and where we've got additional openings, we'll provide. But we also have a huge number of people that are undocumented, where the Human Rights Commission and other NGOs are pressurizing us to say, even though they don't have documents, take them. So we are doing lots and lots of balancing act, and the pressures are too much. And you will recall, we've not even opened for late registration. Last year when we opened for late registration, we had almost 18,000 parents applying. So we still have that additional burden to go through, because even if you can place the 9,000, reality is that at the beginning of January, we must also open for late registration. And that I'm saying is a massive 18,000 that we still need to accommodate. So the system is under pressure, our infrastructure is under pressure, our educators are under pressure. The resources that we have in terms of desks, in terms of textbooks, in terms of school nutrition, scholar transport, they are also under tremendous pressure. So we just have to balance all these things, and that's the reason why we're going to community meetings to explain this kind of predicaments to communities and to parents. Hopefully they will understand why we are taking the decisions that we are taking.
It's a good thing that you outlined just what an incredible juggling act it is that you're doing. As a wrap, as we can close this interview, I just want to ask you about the online application process. It has felt a bit like a mess over the past few years. Are you happy that this is the best way to do it?
Surely not. What is the alternative? The alternative, you go to one school and say, I need an application. They say, no, school is full. You have no redress, you have no transparency, and you have to listen to somebody. Some people are stopped at the gate before they go there. The alternative is what? Before you get an application form, they say pay 4,000 for the application, non-refundable. With online registration, you don't pay anything. The alternative is what? People are told, because some schools preserve their schools for themselves alone and people that have been there before. If you are a new person coming from a new area, they will not take you. So it's not the online registration system per se. I mean, if people were applying, they didn't say this system is difficult. It's only when we place, then people say that this kind of challenges. So it's just that we've got fewer schools that parents prefer. We have to work very, very hard to ensure that from township schools and former model schools, there must be quality education. I can tell you now, the number of classrooms that we have in Gauteng are enough to accommodate everyone. The problem is quality is few, and everyone is trying to go there. And if everyone goes there, we're not going to cope. And that's what we need to fix. It's not an online registration. It's the quality of education. And that is why we're urging our educators and our parents, let's turn around this education system. Because if you can't get education right, we'll never get this country right.
Absolutely. And thanks very much for your time. A massive job on his hands there. Panyaza Lesufi, Gauteng Education MEC, outlining just some of the massive challenges that still exist in the system.